Man was good, y'all. I couldn't get the homies on this time, but as y'all know, the very first global challenge. Uh, wait, it's not called the global challenge, right? As y'all know, tomorrow is the grand challenge. The very first GC. This is gonna be how 4 people qualify to the World Championships, the top 4 players. So I kind of want to do another rundown video of the current format, where it's at and what to expect. So I guess you can't really talk about this format without talking about Rain. The winner of course, the first regional, the Baltimore Regional Championships. I think this thing will be everywhere in the GC personally. I'm mostly covering sets, unique sets that you guys haven't or might not have seen yet, but they are getting more and more popular. I have started seeing them come up. I think they will be pretty common in the GC. And the first is Scarf Pelipper. I think Scarf Pelipper is going to be a lot more common in the GC than a lot of people will realize. I just think Scarf Tailwind is pretty underrated in this format. I think it also gets a U-turn, so that's pretty cool. It was used on a couple teams in Baltimore, so I think we already have reference points there. So yeah, I can definitely see this thing being pretty good. Also, Cloak is probably going to be a little bit more common, I think, on bulkier sets, where you can afford the Tear Grass and things like that. 4 moves, over Cloak, also not going to be that uncommon. Let's get to Archaludon. Obviously, this isn't like a real set, but I just kind of want to put some moves that have been rising up in usage. Snarl, I've been seeing this more and more. Aura Sphere kind of 1v1s other arcs better. It also hits Gambits. Dragon Tail, this is pretty niche. And Solar Beam is the most niche. I've seen this sometimes with Whimsicott, but pretty rare. And one thing I want y'all to remember about Archaludon is this thing has 3 abilities, man. And they're all really good. Stalwart, this thing is super good. You can't be redirected by any redirection moves. Sturdy allows you to live everything at 1 HP. Also really strong, we'll talk about this later. And Stamina, of course, the most classic, the most common Archaludon ability. But as y'all can see, with power herb sets, we can of course use Sturdy. This is a really strong set that has been popularized. This is already pretty well known, but this is also pretty good. Max speed, power herb Sturdy, really good. This is also a set that you might see. I've seen it like a little bit, but this thing does get IDBP, in case y'all were wondering. I think this will be most common with Stamina, of course, but yeah, I guess it does do that. And finally, this is my own take on an interesting set you might be able to do. On rain teams where you don't have the Assault Vest, I think Weakness Policy Sturdy could be pretty interesting. The only things that really even knock this guy down to Sturdy are super effective moves, and because it's GC, they don't know you have Weakness Policy. So you can get a +2 pretty easy. Retaliate with a pretty easy OHKO. So I think those are some cool rain sets. I think Rain is generally going to be revolving around these 2 ones. I think Basque Legion's alright. I don't think there's any other Rain sweepers, and I think Basque Legion sets are pretty standard. You know what you're up against when you play Basque Legion. Modern balance. Let's talk about balance right now. Balance in the current format, it's pretty classic. Fire, water, grass. I guess the other Pokemon that's missing here is Rillaboom, but Rillaboom sets are really standard. I don't think this thing runs anything extra. So I just wanted to show y'all. I guess Primarina is the one with the most variability in its sets. This is the standard set, Double Spray, Hyper Voice, Moonblast, all that. But there are some other sets I want to show y'all. Citrus Berry is actually a really cool item on this thing. This thing gets 2-hit KO'd like crazy. So with just Citrus Berry, you essentially get another life. Pretty interesting. And of course, this isn't a moveset, but these are some moves I've seen rising in usage. I think Parasong will start to get more popular in the GC. I think Aqua Jet won't be popular, but if this thing's inside an Armor Rouge, which I will talk about, of course, with the Weakness Policy, whatever its ability is, weak armor sets, things like that, it kind of will exist. It always has, but just make sure y'all are aware. Helping Hand, this thing does get Helping Hand. I guess y'all know now. The Energy Ball, I have seen Energy Ball as a 3rd move actually quite a bit. It's been coming up more and more often. It's a pretty good option, so don't be surprised if y'all see that. Among Us is pretty standard. I think this is where most Among Us is leaning towards. If I had to put the 4 most common moves on Among Us, most common item probably will be Rocky Helmet or Citrus. I think Rocky Helmet might be a little bit better in GC, simply because it's a lot harder to play your turns out when you don't know that the Among Us in front of you has a Rocky Helmet. Incineroar, pretty common. I don't think much will change with this guy. I think Taunt will be pretty common. Will-O-Wisp will be pretty common. And either Knock or Blitz or both will be pretty common. And make sure y'all aren't He's phased by these 252 instant reward players. Y'all are crazy, but it does exist. Golden Go, I think this is probably going to be the most common Pokemon, I'd say, on these general balance type teams. Actually, it might even be the most common Pokemon in general. I think Life Orb is the item that most people have been attracted to. It gives you the damage of Specs and the flexibility of Nasty Plot, which is awesome. This is an awesome set. And finally, King Gambit has been soaring in usage. It's been really, really picking up in usage. I think this set is awesome. I think Iron Head here also could be pretty interesting. I honestly think, look, my opinion is, I think Sedgwick's a little weaker in GC. I don't know how to explain it. Like, obviously the fact that your opponent can't tell that you have setup is an advantage. I just feel like active damage and more typing across the board it's hard to explain. But I think on most teams, you will prefer an Iron Head. If you can, Swords Dance is always there. But I think this will be paired beside, classic things, classic physical attackers that don't want to be intimidated, Garchomp's, things like that. Awesome. What we got next? Mouse Ape. This is going to be around. This is going to exist. I'm going to show y'all the relevant sets that y'all got to worry about. Other than, of course, Standard Citrus Berry, Safety Goggles, all that. Y'all already know how that beta stuff works. Of course, Choice Scarf. I think this will be the most common set. Watch out for U-Turn onto this guy. This is a sneak peek onto the weakness policy, guys. But yeah, another set that's been popping up actually is the Assault Vest set, and this is really cool. This lets you play 2 different modes. With Mouse Hold, you can play the beat up Rage Resist mode pretty nicely, with a lot of bulk with the Assault Vest. You can just play your own offensive guy with close combat. You can Final Gambit with max HP. This thing picks up pretty much everything. And the third move can be anything. I've seen Poison Jab. I think this thing gets it. I've seen Gong Shot. I've seen Thunder Punch. Whatever. Mouse Hold. I think Mouse Hold is going to be pretty common in GC too. It just won the very first event. I think y'all are going to see some tech moves on it, like Encore might be a thing. I'm thinking people are going to run some interesting things like T-Wave, of course. It's going to be, I love running T-Wave on these things. After use a move it gets, y'all remember that. I think the thing about Mouse Hold that you gotta worry about is it only really needs these 2 moves to damage, right? These slots are up to your own discretion, right? Like, of course, Follow Me is really flexible, makes this thing good on any board position. And of course, you have Encore, you have Taunt, Baby Doll Eyes, you have Helping Hand, you have a ton of stuff there. So I think Mouse Hold is gonna be a really interesting pick. I also think this set is gonna be interesting. Population Bomb, Beat Up, Follow Me, Protect. I think this is going to be paired really well with these Assault Vest Annihilate or the Scarf Annihilate. You can play super flexibly. You can either play to beat up your own Annihilate with Rage Fist, or you can Population Bomb on your own, your opponent's Pokemon, with your fighting type. You're not worried about steals or rocks or anything like that. Definitely not worried about ghost types. So I think this is going to be a pretty interesting pair. And finally, if y'all see a Mouse Hold beside Armarouge, Arcaludon, you already know what's up. The Expanding Force, Armor Cannon, Weak Armor stuff. Aura Sphere gets Aura Sphere. It does get Clear Smog. I don't know if people run that, but it does get that. And this Arcaludon set is a thing, kinda. An Electro Shot. That's all I can think of. But yeah. Normally this is just self-beating up. This is self-beating up the Armarouge or Population Bombing your own Arcaludon to get a plus 6. Make sure y'all watch out for that. And I just want to do a little thing on Rising Threats. I guess I can do that at the end. I want to do my own little thing on Dozo. So I wanted to let y'all know about some interesting Dozo tech I thought of. Because I used Dozo quite a bit in the past, a lot of people have been like, yo, what are your thoughts on Dozo? What are your thoughts on Dozo? I think Dozo is really interesting right now. I think this set in particular, with the goggles, Heavy Slam, 3 attack, could be really interesting. Heavy Slam is almost always 120 BP. And I'm going to let y'all know, both the Prim players and Dozo players that might run this, Prim Arena gets O-code by a Terra Steel Heavy Slam. Neutral. It doesn't gotta be super effective. So that's really, really awesome. Other Dozo sets, this is a classic Wave Crash, Order Up, Earthquake. This is gonna be a thing, of course. But I think Oblivious might be an interesting pick on this, over Unaware. I think that could be a really interesting pick. And of course, Chesto Berry only gets stronger because people don't know that you have the Chesto Berry. You're always gonna have that rest available. You can also do Rest Talk, like Rest Talk. This could be Order Up, Rest, Sleep Talk. This could be pretty interesting too with some leftovers. I think I'd run lefties on this guy. This could be interesting. But yeah, another little piece of tech I'm gonna let y'all in on is no one's running this Flamigo stuff, right? Be the first one, man. Be the innovator. This co-star stuff, I think Gengar could be a really interesting pair Shimon beside it. I think one of the weaknesses of these teams was Golden Go. I think Gengar can help negate that. You have the Icy Winds, little mini Flutter Mane, pair Song, Protect. You can pair beside your own Tatsugiri and get your Flamigo in. That could be pretty interesting. I think this is a cool Flamigo set. And Tatsugiri, are y'all afraid of some Weezings? Ability Shield gets completely through that and allows you to go in the amount of Dozo. There's like no issue with it. It's like I don't know 100% how the gameplay mechanics work in Showdown. I think it's the same, but yeah, in game you will always transform even if Weezing's on the field, which people won't expect again because it's close team sheet. Now for a final part, I guess I'll just discuss some rising threats I've been seeing. I think Band Paul is probably my favorite pick. I think this thing is awesome. Clear Body, Ghost typing is awesome right now. Darts, Outrage, Phantom Force, and U-Turn, really solid set. Typhlosion, you know, with Wolf's success with it, I don't think this thing is going anywhere. I think this is going to be rising and rising in usage. I think Frisk could be an interesting ability in close team sheet on this guy too. Yeah, Max Caliber is another interesting pick. I think in close team sheet this thing could be really strong because you can also run Clear Amulets. You can just do the Glaive Rush, Crash, Shard. This is a really cool set too. All this is really good. Glimmora always gets better in GC. Now the thing about mons that sometimes have Sash is good players will play around the fact that it does have Sash. And you can abuse this by playing a Power Herb Glimmora. Now your opponent has to respect a Sash because they haven't seen the item, and Power Herb is always right there with Meteor Beam. So I think Glimmora gets stronger in GC. It'll of course be amazing beside Dunk Dozo. I think it's in a really good position. I think it'd be really strong right now. P2. I think more offensive versions of P2 are going to be really strong in the GC. I think the Terra Blast fighting Ice Beam stuff, download, this is pretty common. Trick Room comes on here sometimes. Usually comes on here. I've seen Protect on here. I have seen what else does this guy do? I think that's it. It has some electric move that it uses sometimes. I forgot the name of. Eerie Impulse. Yeah, usually Trick Room. And finally, Flamigo. This thing was scrappy. Wide Guard, Close Combat, Brave Bird. This thing is actually a beast. It has a really good attack stat. It hits Golden Go. Wide Guard. I think it's really good. I think this mod is gonna be really strong in the GC. I think the lack of fighting types with the, with Urshifu gone, the lack of middle speed fighting types is kind of makes Flamigo pretty interesting. For the same reason that Palma is interesting to play right now. Yeah, I think those are all the GC threats I can think of. I hope that helped y'all. GC will be closing tomorrow, I believe, and it will be happening for the rest of the week. I hope y'all have a good GC, man. I hope y'all do well. I hope this helped y'all. If y'all have any tips and stuff, leave them in the comments. I appreciate y'all. I'll see y'all in the next one.